Hello, and welcome to another edition of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason,
I'm Bill.
and this is going to be another exciting week of sports talk and food talk.
Yes, and we were together for our food talk, so we'll have a nice, interesting food talk to talk about later on.
Yes, indeed.
So I'll start off with my sport business moment. And I want to talk about, it's hard to believe that on Sutton Impact I'm going to talk about soccer, but I'm going to. The impact of the U.S. not being in the World Cup. And so there's a lot of commotion about it, and Bruce Arena's already resigned or been removed from his coaching position, and there's a lot of really upset people about everything not being in. And I saw a scenario as to what they needed to do a couple of days before the game, and they weren't able to do that. It kind of really threw a lot of people because it seemed like they couldn't help but be in the playoff. They couldn't help but be in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. So, does this derail the U.S. soccer growth in the U.S.? No, I don't think it derails it. I think it's almost now like you're riding in your car and the emergency brake's stuck. You're still going forward, but you're not going forward as fast as you were. And that's kind of what the impact's going to be. You're not going to be able to you're going to have some media losses by Fox. They're not going to make the money they thought they were going to make. Soccer United Marketing, which does a lot of the sponsorship deals, that'll probably dry up a little bit. Well, again, it won't go away. TV ratings for the World Cup, I don't think they won't be as high. You won't see those big watch parties like you did last time, where people were having big watch parties with thousands. You're going to, everywhere you turned and looked, people are watching the World Cup. You're not going to have that this time. So you're going to lose that too. TV ratings will be down because the U.S. isn't in it. But on the other hand, the most popular soccer players in the U.S. are Messi and a number of other of the EPL players and the European players. I feel really, really bad for the kid that plays for Germany. What's his name? Pulisic. Christian Pulisic. There's a show on him on 60 Minutes. He looked amazing to me. And he really misses an opportunity to play on the big world stage representing his country. And I think the impact that he would have had on soccer in the U.S., playing in the Olympics and everything, that's the biggest detriment I see to the U.S. not being in.
Right.
Is him not being able to play on that stage.
No, definitely, because he is special.
Very special.
But U.S. soccer, I get sort of tired of people talking about U.S. soccer like they're some sort of an underdog. They've been competing internationally for over a century. Not 10 years, not 20 years, a century. Over a century.
Yeah.
We're one of the largest countries. We have plenty of resources. So I get tired of the U.S. pretending like they're an underdog or whining about how that, it's either there or it's not there. And it's,
Well, I think their complaint is that the best athletes aren't playing soccer.
No.
And until that happens, we're not going to be competitive, as competitive on the world stage as we could be.
Right.
Until that turns. So as soon as, these football injuries keep happening and different things start happening and, the specialization of playing one sport, playing all the travel teams, those kids have to opt to play soccer. And when that happens, we'll have more talent. But we just don't have as many talented superstar athletes going into soccer as we do into football and basketball. I mean, baseball complains about the same thing that soccer complains about.
Right. Well, I know in high school, and we had a really good soccer. The soccer was actually the best sport at my all-boys school that I went to. But none of those guys on that team were the best athletes in the school. They weren't biggest, fastest, or strongest.
No.
Because those kids played basketball and they played football. Right.
And I was hoping with this Pulisic kid that when people saw that type of talent, that they say, hey, I could be that guy. And that's what we needed to have happen. We need to have him being seen on that national stage,
right,
in that global setting. And it just isn't going to happen. So a big tragedy there.
Yeah, but obviously, as people have always pointed out, if an athlete like Russell Westbrook and some of the guys in the NBA, can you imagine LeBron James playing goalie or going for headers?
Yeah.
That's
what it's going to take. It's going to take that type of athlete deciding they're going to play soccer. And if that's going to happen, soccer on TV, and you're going to have pro soccer paying NFL and NBA and baseball money, and that's not going to happen yet. We're not ready for that to happen in the U.S.
Right.
But all those three things combined are what it's going to take to make sure that we're competitive on that stage.
Right. Unless we do like China and just pick people to play soccer and force them to play soccer, which we'll never do here. So that's good. But,
we'll never do that.
No.
So I'm still incensed about changing gears. I'm still incensed about the call in the Jets game yesterday. It had to be the worst call I have seen in 20 years.
Well, when was the tuck rule?
We lived in Massachusetts, so probably about 20 years.
Okay, so about 20 years ago, right. So the last call was also in favor of a certain team that was in favor of this particular call.
And that was a made-up rule. This was just a bad interpretation. I mean, the guy never loses the ball. It moves, but he's still got his hand on the ball. And to me, the worst thing he could have been called was an incomplete pass. And yet, somehow they ruled that he fumbled the ball out of the end zone, and the Patriots get the ball.
Right.
And so I just don't see how you could make that ruling. I'm mystified. So, as I said on my social media yesterday on Twitter, if you make fun of me about saying the Patriots in a league with the devil, that's just one more example for me.
Right.
And now I believe it more than I've ever believed it. I expect to see Brady take off his helmet one day and his hair is too short to hide the horns.
And again, I mean, the rule is unless there's overwhelming evidence, you stick with the call on the field. And the call on the field was touchdown.
The guy was right there.
And he called it a touchdown.
Right there.
And like most people today that are sports fans, like I watched every replay, every angle I could possibly see, and I didn't see one that there was definitive proof that he lost the ball. I didn't see it. And again, you stick with the call on the field unless there's definitive proof, and there simply was not definitive proof. And it's just...
And sticking with the NFL, bad injury to Aaron Rodgers yesterday. One of the real fun guys in the league to watch. And then add that with J.J. Watt, add that with the rookie running back from Florida State.
Delvin Cook
to play for the Vikings. There's been some really catastrophic, Odell Beckham, some really catastrophic injuries, and it's only mid-October.
I know. That's big superstars. And again, with Deshaun Watson playing the way he was playing, a healthy J.J. Watt in that defense, they're a long shot, but they're a contender. And now they're sort of out of the picture. And then team with...
Watson's still playing well.
Right, but without that defense, you lose a lot. But, I mean, you lose Aaron Rodgers, and that was, I think, most people's pick for the NFC Super Bowl.
So let's talk about losing Aaron Rodgers, which ties back into Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick is now filing a lawsuit saying the NFL owners colluded to keep him from getting a job in the NFL, which is going to be very, very difficult to prove.
Pretty much impossible to prove.
You have to pretty much say that 32 guys got together and agreed that this is what it was going to be. And, who could keep their mouth shut? We know those guys all have big mouths. I can't imagine that happening, so it's not going to happen. But on the other hand, since the owners are meeting tomorrow, I wonder if the suggestion is going to be to give him a workout or somebody sign him or somebody try him out just to diffuse that lawsuit. So we'll see. Right.
I don't think, it definitely seems like they were angry that this, because he was the face of this movement that started it all. And for a while I thought once, there were more people kneeling and then somebody would give him a shot, but it seems like they're just bitter. And they're angry at Kaepernick, and they don't want to ever give him a shot because of what, for starting a very just and righteous movement.
Everybody else, so I don't know. But, I'm sticking where I said before. I said in October he would get a job. And I still believe he's better than some of the guys that are out there taking snaps. So we'll have to see where it goes.
Yeah, Boomer Esiason came out against him.
Big week of upsets in college football, especially the two Friday night games. And I have to sit here, Jason, I have to tell you, I thought about turning on the TV Friday night, and I said, God, those are going to be blowout games. I'm not going to watch either one of those. Syracuse and Clemson, why would that be a good game? And then Washington State has looked great. They're playing California, and they both lose. That was incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
And then we're sitting in New Orleans silence, and I'm sitting at a sports bar, and I'm watching Auburn crushing LSU for the first quarter and a half. And I'm thinking, this isn't going to be a game. And then lo and behold, Auburn loses.
Oh, yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting sports week. We get the first week of the NBA season coming up. Get some really nice matchups coming up. I'm excited to watch the Timberwolves, one of my clients, who Sports Illustrated picks to finish 5th in the West. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see the 76ers, another one of my clients, play, because I think the 76ers could be the 7th or 8th seed in the East. And I'm excited to see the 76ers this year, if they can stay healthy, because I think they could be the 7th or 8th seed in the East. I know that you're a big fan of Joel Embiid.
Yeah, not just social media-wise, but, like, I watched him the other night when he came in, played 15 minutes, put up a double-double, had a bunch of blocks, and he was on offense. He was pushing Ben Simmons into position, saying, you need to be over here, you need to be over here. Like, he's like a modern-day, he really is a modern-day Akeem Olajuwon, and it wasn't just, we saw it last year for 31 games. He's this good. But
you're seeing some leadership there, too.
Leadership, too, but, obviously, can he actually stay healthy, which is... I saw people tweeting during the game, and it was like, every time he fell on the ground, people were nervous. Every time he jumped up and landed, just slightly.
Oh, yeah. They're really nervous, no question. I mean, that's the biggest key to that team is him.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben Simmons is important, as are the other pieces, but that's the biggest piece. That's the game-changing piece.
Game-changing piece. But I will say, of the 2 big contracts signed this past week, bringing back the last 2 teams we talked about, I'd feel more confident about the Joel Embiid contract still, even with his injuries, than I would about the Andrew Wiggins contract. Like, I understand Minnesota's tough to get free agents to go to, and that kid has so much talent, but I haven't seen $150 million worth of play from him.
No.
And that's a lot to commit to him right now.
I know, 3 teams that have a lot of money tied up. Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And they could all be very, very exciting teams to watch.
Very exciting teams to watch.
I told you, my first game the end of the month is Oklahoma City at Minnesota. Yeah. I'm excited to see that one, and I'll be talking about that. I probably won't be talking much. I'll be talking about the food at the arena that night. That'll be my food moment. Will be at Target Center, because Target Center hired a chef. I mean, the Timberwolves hired a chef to oversee their concessions contract. And he's a very well-respected restaurateur named David Fema, who has an Italian restaurant in St. Paul. And so he's going to oversee the food. So I'm excited about that. In fact, he was just emailing me today telling me all the things I need to see when I come to the game. So that'll be my food moment that week at the game.
Nice.
And again, I wish we had video, Jake, so I could shoot some video we could put on our show.
Someday.
That's our aspirational goal.
Yes, our aspirational goal. I brought this topic up off air. This is a little bit non-sports related, but maybe sports related concurrently. Video games have something called loot boxes.
Okay, what is that?
And a loot box is something you buy with real-world money that gives you an in-game item, but you don't know what that item is going to be. It could be something incredibly rare, or it could be just something lame that does no good, and it's a duplicate of something your character already has. It's the same shirt, it's the same hat, whatever it is. And there was a big push through the ESRB, who is the ratings board for video games, and what they wanted to do is claim that it was gambling, which would make it 18 plus to buy the games. But the ESRB ruled that even though you're using real money and you don't know what you're going to win and you're taking a risk, because you always get something, it's not gambling. But they had a bunch of psychologists come in and basically say that, it's the same psychological effect. Like the people that are playing these loot boxes are the same people that would, play craps or play roulette. Like they can't stop themselves.
Because they never know what they could win.
They never know what they could win.
It's the excitement about what they might win. And that's the juice that keeps them going.
Right. And Activision alone, which is one of the larger video game companies, they made $3 billion last year on loot boxes. they became incredibly popular with cell phone games and some other things where it's just, they look for whales, which are the big clients, just like in Vegas, same
Yep.
situation, and you try to find the person that spends the
No, and there
most
are
money.
people that are totally addicted to video games and play, 12 hours a day plus, and it's their life. And these are the people that could get caught up in this.
Right. And to bring it back to sports, it got me thinking like this business model where you can have people spend real money for the chance to win something great, but at least get something mediocre, which would make it not gambling. Like, would sports find some way to implement that as another way to make more money? Like, because if it, this is thing that, because technically the way it is because the ESRB rated that it's not gambling, it's all ages. So 6-year-olds can buy loot boxes. I mean, if they have their parents' credit card, obviously, or they somehow have a lot of money. I don't know how that would happen, but it got me thinking like with that rating, because a lot of times when something happens in a court and something you all of a sudden want to know like, okay, well this happened, what are the implications moving forward elsewhere? And I started wondering if sports teams would somehow look to jump on this this bandwagon, because it makes a ton of money, and I'm sure you could implement it in some way, shape, or form. If
Yeah, it sounds intriguing. It's something we need to watch.
And as esports become more and more of a game, I don't think it hurts to talk video games from time to time. Not too often on the show, obviously, but
No, but I think it's. I view it as a sport, and I view it as a real up and coming sport. And I think, I definitely think we should address it from time to time.
right, definitely. And you were actually in New Orleans with me this weekend.
Yes, and so I'm going to give you a shout out for introducing me to cake, which was one of the best breakfasts I've had all year. In fact, best breakfast I've had probably a couple years.
Yeah,
And it was, it's the combination of breakfast and a bakery, and the bakery was off the hook. And when you told me that I could buy my breakfast and then spend $1 and get a cupcake, that was intriguing enough for me to go. Now, what the funny thing was, you told me to get the ham and cheese omelet, which I did, which was outrageous, with really nice slices of really cut ham, hand-carved ham in the omelet, and then a really good biscuit. And then instead of buying my cupcake for $1, I saw this donut that looked like a chocolate eclair donut, so I had to have that. And then I had to buy this blueberry turnover because it just looked amazing. And I didn't eat it for 24 hours, and it was still one of the best things that I've eaten. So cake is just a great, great breakfast place. I don't know how to describe how to get there because the Uber took you every which way but loose.
Right, and it's one of those restaurants in New Orleans.
It's not an easy place to get to.
Yeah, it's in the middle of a neighborhood. It's like, streets of houses, and all of a sudden there's a corner house, and that's cake.
And it was nice because we had sit outside. It was a beautiful day. Sit outside. I thought the service was really good. I was impressed at how the speed of turnaround, but the quality of the food was just tremendous. And then that same night, we go to dinner at my favorite restaurant in New Orleans, GW Fins, where you ordered your fin wings.
Which, as bizarre as they are, still incredible.
And I had my soft shell crab appetizer, and then we had some amazing dishes there. And I mean, the service there is always impeccable. The waitress, I asked what sheep's head was, what kind of fish sheep's head was, and she gave such an unbelievable description. 3 people at our table ordered it.
I was the lone holdout of things she described.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, she described 2 dishes, and 5 out of the 6 people at our table got those 2 dishes.
I know that's what I say there about when you have the service of somebody that's really, really good, it makes such a difference. And it's such a nice restaurant. It's not noisy. It's good. And there's drop biscuits they bring around. I mean, if you're in New Orleans, go to Cake for breakfast and go to GW Fins for dinner. And I've always been a big Mother's fan, but I went to Mother's the day before and then Cake the next day, and there's no comparison. I mean, I love the black ham at Mother's, but no comparison on the omelet, and then the bakery makes up for anything else that Mother's could offer.
Oh, yeah.
Although your mother did have a great Ferdy is their poor boy. It's ham, turkey, and roast beef debris at Mother's, and she really liked that.
Excellent.
But I'm down with Cake and GW Fins.
Yes. And then just if you happen to be in New Orleans on a Sunday, I think I've already mentioned Bure. It's the Boucherie is this really incredible French restaurant. And the guy that runs it is a great chef, and he decided he wanted to have a wings and fry place. So right next door, he opened Bure, or I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. It's French, but Bourre. And on Saturdays, besides all the gourmet wings and everything else they make, they smoke out, and then they take the leftover burnt ends and they chop it up into a chili. And then on Sundays, they have chili cheese, burnt end beef fat fries, and they're just amazing. But only on Sundays.
Huh.
But they are a
I'll
dish.
try that one next time I come.
Oh, yeah. And they also offer, obviously, the official drink of New Orleans is the daiquiri. You see daiquiris literally everywhere. And they actually have a gin and tonic cucumber-infused daiquiri, which sounds bizarre, but it's incredibly smooth and refreshing. Give that a little shout-out as well.
All right, I'll give that a shout-out. We got a book to shout out. I'm reading a book called The Scientology Murders. And it's set in Clearwater. And since we have a place in Clearwater, I picked it up. That was intriguing. And it's amazingly a really good read. Reminds me of the Travis McGee series. All set in Clearwater, and talks about some places in Clearwater. And the detective is this guy that he's called the Dead Detective because his mother flipped out when he was a kid and tried to kill him and his brother by asphyxiating them in a car. And his brother died and he was revived. And now he gets, every once in a while, he gets messages from, if he goes and investigates a murder, the dead might talk to him, so he's the Dead Detective.
Huh.
But the Scientology part of it is really, really cool. This is like the third book in the series, and I'm really enjoying it. But it's called The Scientology Murders.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And if,
I think you'll really like it. I'll give it to you when I'm done reading it, because I know you and my niece Kaylee are all over the Scientology thing.
it's true. And if you're not too susceptible, it's worth taking a tour of the Scientology Center if you're ever in Clearwater. Because it's a little bit crazy, but it's
Yep.
you can kind of see where they grab people. And like I said, if you're susceptible to that sort of thing, stay away. But if you're like me, you can go in there.
If you're looking for somebody to change your life, don't go.
But if you just want to get a little bit of insight into what their pitch is, which is I've always wanted to know, I'm like, I need to know how they hook people. Go on the tour.
Yeah. I mean, to wear a sailor suit and go crazy and do that other stuff and convince me all this other stuff, you gotta really be susceptible.
And I will say they have a very good pitch. It's worth checking out. It's kind of fun.
All right. Anything else for tonight?
I just finished the new Dan Brown Origins book. And it's, if you like Dan Brown, I mean, Dan Brown's obviously incredibly formulaic. It almost seems like they put things into a hat and just pulled them out and make a book. Because they have sort of the same pacing and everything else, but it's got a very interesting story. It basically, it's the characters looking to address where we come from and where are we going. And it's sort of a clash of science versus religion. And, you know, and then along the way, he obviously introduces us to different parts of Spain and some artists I've never heard of that I ended up Googling, and it's incredible stuff. Like Gaudi, I think is his name, but I don't want to, I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's pretty fascinating, so.
And I know you're a big Russell Brand fan.
I am a big Russell Brand fan.
And he was on Bill Maher this week. And he was absolutely enlightening and hysterical.
As he tends to be.
He was really, really good. So Bill Maher this week is really good. And then John Oliver show on the Equifax it was scary and humorous and revealing. So he does such a good job with that. I mean, he gets your attention by mixing humor and sarcasm to really make some really valid points. And if you haven't frozen your credit yet, watch John Oliver learn how to do it and do it. Because you do not want to be in a situation right now where your credit's not frozen with all your data that's floating around in the world right now.
All right, well, I apparently have some homework to do between now and the next episode.
Yep. And I'm going to root for my Astros now. They're up 2-0. I don't know how they're doing yet tonight. I'll have to go check that score out.
And it looks like we're going to be seeing the Dodgers in the World Series as well.
Looks like I'm Dodgers, Astros, and I'm going to really root hard for the Astros. Like to see Astros get their first World Championship.
And it'd be good for the city of Houston this year.
I agree. All right, so we'll be back next week.
And thank you for listening. And again, go to iTunes and rate us, subscribe, go to Patreon and become a family member. We'd really appreciate it.
We really appreciate this. Again, I'd love to make this a video show where you can see some of the stuff that we see, and we can share that with you.
So until next week.